there's a subway rescue guy in New York, saved a guy who had had a seizure, fell in the subway.
Yeah.
He got underneath, and he was on Letterman. James Shaw's the local guy, Waffle House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saved everybody.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
some people died, but he saved a lot of lives. So then I was reading about this thing called the bystander effect. You guys heard about
No.
this? It's pretty interesting. It's how people will be less likely to rise to the occasion if there's a group of people around because no one will take charge.
Yeah.
And they did this study, and they put a bunch of students or people in a room to fill out a questionnaire, and they planted a bunch of seeds, people who knew what was going on, and then they piped smoke into the room, and the people who knew what was going on just remained calm. And if a person was in a room by themselves and they saw smoke, 75% got up and ran for help. But if there were other people in the room and they looked around and everyone was calm, only 10% left the room to go get help. And they have a bunch of situations like that where people just won't help out because they're either not sure if it's a real emergency or not, or they don't want to they don't want to take the responsibility of doing it. And someone said they were having a seizure, and if they were the only person who heard it, 85% sought help. But if other people they knew heard it, only 31% would jump in and help.
Interesting. I wouldn't want to be the guy freaking out, and it's actually not that big of a deal. That's embarrassing.
That's what everyone's afraid of.
That's what everybody's afraid of, it being like, man, you really went crazy. Everybody's afraid of one other guy going, dude, you look like a maniac at the time. And you go, I thought it was happening. You're like, you think you're going to be the one that gets to see this crazy moment? Because you don't think you're ever going to be. That's when they always go back to think about, I mean, they talk about like school shooters.
Yeah.
And so they always go to, how does the family not see this coming? Because you can't imagine your kid is the one that would do this horrible thing. So even if there's signs, Jeffrey Dahmer, they interviewed his dad. I think him and his dad. I think it was like a fun interview. It was.
But he was a good dude.
Yeah. You're like, I mean, obviously, let's not talk about the obvious.
Right.
Wonderful
Made some mistakes,
guy. Wonderful guy.
Honestly, yeah. Real charming.
They talked to the dad, and he was like, did he do anything? They're like, I mean, he used to kill cats and stuff. And the dad's like, it's the 60s. I don't know. Kids were killing cats. It's just like a rough dad that it wasn't like he lived in this nice neighborhood and he's the only kid killing cats. I think he was in a rougher neighborhood, and then it was like kids were being crazy. And when you go back and look and point this stuff out, you're like, yeah, dude, that's straight up what happened. But people get mad at these parents, and you're like, why would they ever imagine? No one could ever imagine it. Right. You could never imagine it.
Flip side of that, the BTK killer in Kansas City, I think they found out he'd been killing people for decades, and there's this big interview with his daughter, and they're like, were there any signs that your dad was this, great dad by day, and then by night this sociopath? And she was like, I mean, he got mad at dinner a few times, but that's, parents get mad.
Right.
We're not supposed to. You're not thinking, oh, my dad might be a serial killer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was the flip side of that?
You were talking about it from the parent's perspective of the kid. It's
okay.
The kid to the parents.
Yeah.
Well,
I thought flip side you were going to say, I thought flip side would have been that the kid goes, yeah, he killed my mom.
That's true. That would have been the flip side.
Is that not the flip side?
I didn't frame it right. But yeah, you're right. That would have been the flip side.
So you should say another example.
Another example of something similar. Yeah.
Would have been the flip side of that. Here's the same thing that you said.
Flip side sounds better, though.
Flip side of that, Aaron, same thing.